when we think about prejudice, I think we can talk about it on different levels. So there's a type of prejudice that assumes that there's hostility. So often when we talk about prejudice, we assume that it's negative, right? That we have really negative opinions about people. And that's obviously something that we need to talk about. It is true, I think, that some of that prejudice happens unconsciously, and that it's good to become aware of that. And that's a lot of discussion about what is called unconscious bias and microaggressions and whatnot. And I think it's fair to talk about that. There's another level of prejudice that is sometimes rather referred to as stereotyping or neutral stereotyping, where we don't necessarily have a hostile feeling about another group, but we just have a huge generalization that we apply on them. For example, we will think Chinese people are introverts and they prefer a lot of authority and hierarchy, or Americans are always loud and engage in lots of small talk. And these are as such neutral, but it doesn't mean that I think they can't be problematic, because what often happens is two things. Is first of all, it can often be incorrect, right? If you think about yourself, there's always maybe some things in which you do conform to certain stereotypes about your group, but there's always many things that don't conform to the stereotypes about your group, right? So think about that. That's going to go for every member of every other group that you can ever meet, that they're never going to fit exactly into that mold, and you're going to overlook important parts of who they are. And the other point that we see is that when people apply such neutral stereotypes, is that it brings stress, right? Because they want to show respect. They want to make sure they're not making mistakes. They realize that people are different and that there's all these generalizations, and they want to make sure that they remember all of that and act accordingly. And the thing is that, first of all, not only are those things incorrect, but if we look at people's behavior, it's much more complex than that. It doesn't only have to do with, the characteristics that they have, but there's often things in the interaction are happening that have to do with things that happened yesterday, and things that happen in the interaction between you and me that are a lot more explanatory about what's happening. So just focusing on the stereotype is probably not going to help you to understand the person across you, leave alone what's happening in the communication.